Welcome to ResponseABLE Parenting, the podcast that shows you how to parent in alignment to your emotions, needs, and goals versus your programming, bad advice, and let's face it, outdated strategies that just don't work. You'll get in the trenches support on nervous system and emotional regulation, critical mindset shifts, stronger communication strategies, and more. In this podcast, you'll gain transformational tools that take you from reacting to every frustration to responding with clarity, regulation, and finally setting the example you desire for your kids. I'm Becky Jennings, your new parenting coach, and this is the ResponseABLE Parenting podcast. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is the very first podcast episode I am recording for 2026, which is very exciting. I haven't been in the podcasting seat for a little bit. So it's nice to be back. It's nice to be able to kind of flush out some of the insights and the noticings that I had over the holiday break. It's also a great opportunity to address some of the own unsettled feelings that I've been having. And what I have noticed as myself, as a coach, is my job is to figure out the pattern. My job is to help you figure out why the patterns continue to persist, what the pattern is saying and trying to tell you and teach you. My job is to unearth and figure out what the root of that pattern is in order for us to create the systems necessary to feel successful in your house, in order to create the nervous system that feels necessary in your house. Over this week, I've been diving into my clients' trigger trackers, which if you don't have one yet, this is, just such an amazing tool that I offer inside of my program. So basically on day 2 inside of my program, you get this little grid and it is your trigger tracker, and you get to explore all of the nuances around specific things that light your nervous system on fire, that make you feel so agitated, that make you feel sad, that make you feel any sort of way that isn't forward moving, productive, happy, joyful, content, all of those things. And so I was diving in and uncoding some patterns, and it started to make me think, like, what were some of the patterns that I experienced over the holiday break? And there were some moments that I noticed that I became hyper fixated on my ideal outcome. I became fixated on what I wanted to see my children do, what I wanted to see my husband do, what I wanted to do. It just became like outcome oriented. And when I found myself in that space, I was rushing the process. I continued to rush because I felt either so uncomfortable with maybe the behavior that I was seeing my kids act in front of their grandparents, or I became embarrassed of how they were acting in public, and I thought it might be a reflection on me, or I felt annoyed because we've gone over this so many times. Why have you still not figured this out? Or I felt like a complete failure, or I felt like I had lost control over the moment. And all of those feelings surfaced when I was in rush. Let me say that again. All of those feelings surfaced when I was in rush to attain the outcome that I wanted to see. Now, why am I talking about this? Why is this important? Because when we rush, right? It's basically the exact same thing of like trying to just maybe like look at your neighbor's answers back in school so that you can rush to the end of the test because you certainly didn't prepare. And so you're just trying to rush through, or you're trying to like sneak a peek to see if you can, get that quick save so that you save face, you save the outcome of getting the good grade. Whenever we are in rush, right? Maybe we have guests coming over and we see that the room is a mess. So we get a box and we shove all the stuff that's out on the counters. We shove it into a box, but then we rush it into the closet and close the door. But the mess is still there. The mess is still in the closet behind the closed door. Just nobody can see it. So we don't have to be embarrassed, right? We don't have to feel uncomfortable with somebody noticing any imperfections in the outward presentation of who we are as people and parents. I think a lot of the reason we can be so hyper reactive in uncomfortable moments with our kids, in moments where they mess up, where their behavior isn't exactly what we wanted, their behavior in front of grandparents or family isn't what we wanted, and we rush the process in order to save face, maintain control, feel less uncomfortable by proving to others we are as good of parents as we know we are, right? And so we miss all of the important stuff when we rush the process and we are only focused on the outcome. I am so guilty of this, where I'm like, okay, all we need is a quick cheat sheet and all we need is a quick flow chart, and then my kid's behavior will be back on track. But when I do this, I am not addressing the root of the problem. And ultimately, every single time I slow down and I start to go through my rewiring process with my children, I start to understand what is actually going on, what is driving the behavior, why they did what they did. It starts to make sense. I feel like, oh man, I probably could have noticed that. I probably should have noticed that. A little bit of that guilt pops in. But ultimately, what this all comes down to is when we see something that we don't like, and we are rushing to fix it, correct it, get our children in line, to fall in line, to do exactly as what we expect them to do, to perform the outcome that we want. We're missing all the gold to actually change behavior at its root so we don't have to keep doing this. So, what I want to walk you through is kind of my 4-step process that I have used to rewire my own neural circuitry so that I can actually show up in a way that feels more connected, feels more aligned, is definitely more nervous system safe. And a lot of it comes down to registering what this trigger is in the first place, right? We can't do anything until we've registered the trigger. We can't do anything until we notice that we're triggered, because so often in this rushed process, we feel frustrated. We're angry as hell. We know we're upset and dysregulated, and yet we're still driving to that outcome without actually addressing what's happening. Because if we just keep doing this, like feel discomfort, rush to the outcome, feel discomfort, rush to the outcome, we're creating a new pattern. Essentially, we're creating a whole new host of problems in which we're telling our kids, hey, listen, you don't really have to learn these skills. You don't really have to do anything until I'm in this exact nervous system state that I'm showing you right now, until I get really harsh, until I get critical, until I push you through this process. That's the only time you need to actually show that you know what to do. So let's stop that whole process. Let's stop that whole pattern, and let's focus on how we can actually be more effective in achieving the outcome more consistently by actually addressing the steps beforehand, right? So when we register that we are starting to feel discomfort in our body, that is our first cue that our nervous system is starting to escalate. Our nervous system is starting to move out of a window of tolerance, right? Our threshold, our comfort level, where it feels like maybe it can be activated, but it can also come back down to being neutral, right? So when we start to feel nervous system activation, that can be, starting to feel a little panicked. That can be starting to feel your jaw clenching. That can start to feel like you're furrowing your brow. That can start to feel like maybe you're sweating a little bit. Maybe you're starting to feel like hot flashes coming on. You're starting to feel a little sweat. You're starting to feel maybe the hair on your neck is starting to bristle. Maybe your fists are clenching. Maybe your stomach starts to feel really tight, or your breath starts to get really shallow. These are all signals that your body is sending you, telling you, hey, 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 we should be aware of this that's going on. This this doesn't feel right. I'm not enjoying this. Hey, hello, could you please stop and help me here? Right? That is what those cues are sending us. So we need to actually allow ourselves the time to register that. More often than not, in our rush to the outcome, we just say, it's fine, I'll deal with this later. I know I'm uncomfortable. I know I'm feeling frustrated. I know I'm a little angry. I know I'm feeling hot on the collar. I know I could potentially explode right now, but I just need to get to this outcome. I need the room clean. I need the dishes cleaned. I need them to stop acting the way that they're acting. I need them to just shut their mouths so we can get through this grocery store. I need them to sit at the dinner table and not eat. So I'm going to ignore all of the physiological cues that my nervous system is sending me, telling me that I'm moving up the ladder of discomfort into dysregulation, but we're just going to push through. So, this is the most critical first step that we need to take, registering that our body is starting to feel discomfort, and it's starting to feel discomfort in a way that it's screaming to us, hey, hold on, can you please register that I'm not well? Can I be super real with you and tell you a personal story? A few years back, my son, the whole reason why I do the job I do today, was having one of those fiery moments. He was talking back, demanding it be his way. He was refusing to listen to any of our solutions, and the moment was getting really intense. My husband looked at me and said, well, you know all the parenting stuff, fix this. I completely froze. All the scripts from the books I'd read, all the strategies from the podcasts I'd listened to completely disappeared from my brain in that moment. But based on the volume of challenges that we were having with our strong-willed ADHD son, I knew I had to figure out a different way, because panicking in the moment and grasping at anything only to not follow through at all and end up yelling just wasn't working. From this experience, I developed a repeatable, easy to remember, and easy to follow system that literally works with every single triggering moment. I can attest to it because there are many in my life. Now I can show up the way I want. I can communicate in a way that actually resonates with my strong-willed child. If this sounds like a solution for what's happening in your home, take these next 2 steps. Number 1, watch the free training about my rewiring process in the show notes. And then number 2, book your free call. On that call, we will talk about what's happening in your home, and you will get a customized solution that works best for you. I assure you, this doesn't have to feel as hard day in and day out as it does. There is the solution, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it. Now, upon registering this information, that is our cue to do something new. That is one of my favorite things that a client and I came up with, is the trigger is the cue to try something new, right? So when we have the physiological signals ripping through our body, we could have multiple signals being sent at the same time saying alert, alert, time to pay attention. That is our chance and our opportunity to do something different. And we start by rooting down into the moment. Stop. Stop yourself. Just stop the flow. Stop the forward momentum to the outcome. We have to stop the forward momentum to the outcome because we're not doing it in a way that is safe. We are not doing it in a way that shows we are non-threatening. We are just not doing it in the most effective way possible. And in 2026, let's be honest, we need to be as effective as we possibly can, because the garbage that we have been pulling in for years and years and years does not need to happen again this year. That is my goal. I'm leaving all the garbage in 2025, and 2026 is going to be this implementation year of really dialing in these practices in order to have more effective systems, more effective, happy households, right? I hear this across the board. I'm at my wit's end. I hear this from so many messages, so many clients. I can't do this anymore, right? If you are in this place, this is absolutely for you. So we have registered, we have noticed the cue in our body. We're like, oh, my body is sending me a signal. My signal is telling me to stop. I'm going to just stop. I need to verbalize in the moment, hey guys, I'm going to take a quick pause. I got to figure something out in my brain real fast, right? Hey guys, I'm going to take a quick second. I'm going to go grab a glass of water. I'm going to take a quick second. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm not mad at you. I got to just go take a quick breather, sort some stuff out in my brain, right? We can narrate that and let them know this isn't a you thing. This is a me thing. I need to figure this out real fast. You are not in charge of my feelings, but I am feeling something and I need to go suss it out, right? These are all wonderful things to model and teach our kids. This is not a you thing. This is a me thing. Must figure out. Okay. In that moment, I'm starting to feel my chest feels really tight. What about this? What is this trying to tell me? Let the physiological cues in your body lead you to what it's trying to protect you from. Let me say that again. Let the physiological signs in your body lead you to what it is trying to protect you from. There was an experience in your life, a fear. There was a moment of distrust. There was a moment of rupture. There was a moment of pain. There was a moment of hurt. There was a moment that this feels really similar to. Now, your child is not the original perp, right? Your child is not the original person who caused this original pain. However, what they are doing smacks pretty hard of it, or it's at least tugging on that pattern from the past. Think of it as a bruise that has never been able to heal that your child is just pushing on. And they're pushing on that bruise. And they don't know they're pushing on that particular bruise, but you do because your body is sending you the signals that it understands what's happening. So every single time our body is physiologically responding in any sort of discomfort or adverse feelings, it is alerting you to a previous pain that it's trying to avoid. So what we need to do then, so we've registered the cue, we've registered that we're triggered, we understand that we're moving up the ladder of dysregulation, and now it is our opportunity to step away and root down into the moment. When we root down into the moment, all we are trying to do is track the feeling to the memory that our body is trying to protect us from experiencing twice. Whenever we get to this point, and a therapist of mine said this years ago, and I thought it was incredible when she was like, why are you ruminating on the same story over and over and over again? You're basically traumatizing yourself twice. Why do that? Even if you're future tripping of a future fear, like when we were talking and trigger warning, I had a full-term stillbirth in 2019, and we were really heavily focusing on that because I was pregnant with my third son, Trey, and she was like, if you're going to sit here in the whole pregnancy, you're going to be thinking about him potentially passing away too. You are traumatizing yourself over and over and over again. And that really stuck with me of like being able to uncouple the feelings and sensations in your body with storylines that our brains do not know whether or not they are true or false. And that really, really hit home. It's like, oh, every single time I think of this potential future, I'm traumatizing my body, and I'm training my body to be hyper aware and training my body to think all the time that this is probably happening. Right. And so, what kind of stress environment am I creating with this pregnancy? What kind of internal home am I giving this child if the entire 37 weeks that I have you in my body, I am thinking you are not going to stay in my body? That doesn't create safety for me or you. And so I really had to take a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort to uncouple the story from the intense emotions that I was feeling in my body. Now, you might not be in the exact same situation that I am or that I experienced. However, we attach very strong storylines with very strong emotions, and our physiological signs are going to try to be protecting us from repeating those stories that draw so much pain into our bodies. So we register that something is happening. We're getting alerted to something. We root down into that moment and we say to ourselves, what about this feeling? What about this feeling feels so intense? Why am I feeling so hurt, annoyed, angry, out of control, dissatisfied, trapped, scared? Any of those things, right? Why do I feel this? What about this moment feels similar to anything in the past that I didn't have control over, that I was completely bulldozed and had no choice, that, any of those things, right? And then once we find the root, we get the opportunity to uncouple that feeling from our bodies and from that storyline. And we do that by experiencing the same exact feelings and sensations, but following through from a place of regulation. Because when we do that, we A, remove the power from the previous storyline that is existing and looping in our brain. And B, we are giving our brain a second option and we are telling ourselves we can experience this stimulus and operate in a completely different way. So it is essential that we actually feel the same feelings, recognize that this is the exact same feeling, situation, pattern, whatever we are experiencing on loop. And I get to walk through this exact same experience, but I get to do it from a place of regulation, which is going to prime my brain and create a new neural pathway that I get to practice over and over and over again. And thank God our kids are going to give us a million opportunities to practice, from getting dysregulated to finding that place of regulation and moving through the same exact scenario from a place of regulation. And the more we get to do this, the more our responses of that controlled, regulated, feeling capable, not panicking in the face of a pattern becomes more predictable. And our brain loves predictability, right? It loves predictability. So the more we practice this regulation, predictable response pattern, the more our body is going to have that become our default. So whenever you feel like you are in a rush to an outcome, that's telling you that we're not addressing the actual root of it. And that rush is an indication to us that we are actually back into that dysregulated pattern. So it's up to us to understand our cues, right? We're going to register those cues that are happening in our brain. We are going to root down into the moment, and we are going to spend some time to try to figure out what that storyline is and why it's drawing so much emotion out of us. And then we are going to practice some regulation in that moment, right? In my program that I have, my coaching program, I have an entire 30-day program that teaches you how to break this all down. It also gives you daily regulation practices. It also has my brand new 7-minute nervous system ritual that I do in the morning. Ideally, you do morning and night. This is an opportunity for you to fully complete the stress loop that has been percolating in your body, that remains in your body, and that just continues to bump from next situation to next situation without any resolution. You have all of that inside, as well as the opportunity for me to help you unpack the patterns even further. But all of that is this 30-day deep, rich nervous system practice that you get to understand all of this. Not only just all of this in an umbrella strategy, but all of this for you. Now, when you begin to practice this enough, you are going to be able to take this through with your children, right? You are going to start to be able to recognize when they start to get dysregulated. And then you can start to help them go through this 4-step process as well, where you get to alert them to, I'm noticing that you're acting like X. Usually that signals to me that you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling upset, you're feeling like you have no control. You feel like I'm maybe prioritizing something else or someone else. Is that true? And then you get to help them root down into the storyline. What about this feels like it kind of happens a lot, right? Do you notice that you feel like this often? Do you notice that you feel like this in school? Do you notice that you feel like this with friends? Then you can help them get to the root, right? Help them start to understand their patterns of reactivity. We get to help them practice regulation techniques, whether that's punching a pillow, crawling on all fours and growling like a lion, whether it's jumping jacks, a punching bag. There's so many different regulation tools that we can teach our kids as well. And then through modeling of our own and practicing this skill set, we get to establish how we want to respond to each other back and forth. This is an incredible practice to teach our kids, but it does start with us. Because if we're rushing our kids to the outcome of speaking to us better, that's often what I hear. I don't like the way they speak to me. They're being disrespectful. They're being defiant. This happens all the time. I always get it. They always melt down when I say no. They're always yelling no back at me. They're always telling me, wait a second, I need to finish this. They're always telling me I hate you. Well, how we're rushing to fix that. That definitely needs to be fixed, but it's 4 steps earlier that we need to actually start the process. And if you want my hand holding through this, just go ahead and shoot me a message after this. Send me a message saying that you listened to this episode, that you're very curious about what I do, and I will walk you through. We can hop on a call. We can walk through what your process is right now. We can walk through what your triggers are, and we can see if my coaching program is the right fit for you. Right now, it is enrolling. I have the program open for enrollment. So if this is something that you are interested in, I highly recommend this, because essentially, this is going, I don't want to say it's going to rush you to the outcome, but this is going to give you all the steps, right? No more needing to like research everything, no more books that you need to buy, no more. Yeah, it's just basically going to streamline everything. It's a plug and play system for you where you get to go, oh, these are the exact 5 steps I need to follow here. Put your exact situation and your exact scenarios in this, and we will together figure out your patterns. We will together create a new system of operation for you in the household so that you are actually achieving the outcomes that you want to see. So if this resonated with you, and if your goal in 2026 is to really get rid of these reactive patterns that you are experiencing, as well as that your kids are experiencing, this is the program for you. So shoot me a message. My email is in the show notes. You also have that straight opportunity in the show notes to just book a call with me. So book that call. Let's just have a discussion. The call is free. Let's see if what I do as a coach could be the solution for you to just end these unwanted patterns of fighting, volatility, reactivity, just the nastiness that leaves you feeling guilty at the end of every single day. If that sounds like a promising solution for you, that sounds like that might be that ticket, that key to just ending this so you can actually start to enjoy your kids that you wanted to be enjoying this whole time, but all this mess is getting in the way, book that free call. Let's have a conversation, see if it's a right fit, and we'll figure it out from there. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. And I am excited to change up all these patterns and really dial in the exact parenting strategies we want to see ongoing. All right. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the ResponseABLE Parenting podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.